back to Midas. Good day there. Good day, everybody. Welcome to another really big show we got going on here. You'll notice special eds on my side, and why is that? Because Steve Gormley from International Cannabrands is joining us to open the show on the other side. In case you don't remember, International Cannabrands trades under the symbol JUJU, J-U-J-U, on the CSE. Steve, welcome back.
Thank you. It is a pleasure to be here with you both again.
Now, the Canaccord U.S. Cannabis Opportunity Conference is on right now.
That's right.
That's not what they call it. That's what I call it, because most of these are privates that are up here.
That's right.
You're one of the few publicly traded ones that people can participate in now. How has been the response to your company?
It's been amazing. We've had an incredible week. We got here and we kicked off our roadshow, which you saw we announced last week. We're going out with Gravitas and Canaccord, and with the support of both of those teams, we've had an unbelievably aggressive schedule. I mean, let me tell you, I had a German mother. She had nothing on these guys. They've been pushing us through a death march. I mean, 7-8 meetings a day.
Wow.
It's been going like gangbusters. People love the story. They love the fact that we've turned this ship around.
Right.
But what they love really the most is that we're going after a market no one else is addressing.
Sure.
We're doing that middle market.
Right. So you're doing a raise up to $10 million at 20 cents a share, correct?
We're going out for $5 million.
$5 million.
The book looks fantastic.
Okay.
We suspect we'll likely oversubscribe. We will complete the transaction. We, as you know, signed the definitive agreement with Vida Verde. We've already deployed 2 tranches of capital against that acquisition so that they could expand into manufacturing and effectuate the business plan. We expect this round to close on or about November 1st, and by that point, Ed, we'll be done with that acquisition, and we expect the market to react really well to that. We'll also have enough fuel in the tank to go after other acquisitions that are in our pipeline, and we're really excited about that.
Yeah, I've actually got a couple to show you after the segment.
That's great.
Yeah, so tell me, what does the Vida Verde transaction relationship do for the long-term sort of prospects of the balance sheet of JUJU?
Oh, it turns us into a $50 million company overnight when you look at the projections for 2019.
Not too forward-looking a statement there.
No, but we're talking a year.
Yeah, really?
And you know, it's based on what we know about what the business, the actuals of the business, and what we know about pre-orders and everything else that we're up to in the market. So, you know, the dust is settling in California. You know, we had a lot of change with products coming off the shelves because they had to be repackaged. They, you know, you had to do labels and child-proof canisters and the like, and so there was a disruption of the market there. But the licensed, credible players in the space, like Vida Verde, who are now going to be the only lawfully operating players in the space, are just simply going to dominate. And our strategy to bring in this emerging regional brand to conquer Northern California, we think is a winning proposition.
So from where you guys sit, it sounds like the really fragmented California market is going to be consolidated by a few large players.
What we're going after is really, and I've said this before when I've come on, like imagine a roll-up of regional beers, right? You've got these brands that do really well. They're specialty brands. They have loyal and devoted followings in the markets they serve. They have a well-developed constituency, but they've built profitable businesses that have the potential of being national and international brands, and thereby being franchisable at some point. Those are the targets we're looking for. We look at what the fundamentals are. Is this a profitable business? That's our first criteria. Secondly, what's the management team like? Do we know them? Is there a pre-existing relationship? Have we done transactions with them before? Are they within the network, the family? And then lastly, how does it fit in with the rest of the strategy? So for example, Vida Verde helps us in Northern California, but we're certainly going to distribute in Southern California, where JUJU Royal dominates. And so when we look to continue building the platform, building this aggregation platform, we have a view on consolidating emerging brands, bringing them in. And you know, the leaders will be the leaders, as is the case in regional beer brands, right? The specialty beers, sometimes they go national and they do well. Some of them are home runs, some of them are base hits, and again, we're after that middle market. You see the likes of MedMen, they're bagging elephants, right? And those elephants are coming in at a premium. And then you got a lot of people putting money into startups. And I don't have to tell you how long it takes and the probability of a startup succeeding.
Right.
Our fundamental strategy is to acquire assets that are already profitable, that just need to scale, with management teams that want to stick around and ride the wave with us.
Cool.
So that when we build this platform, they get to participate in a public vehicle, which for these entrepreneurs is new, right? You're not looking at guys who have this kind of Wall Street and Bay Street experience. So.
Okay. Back on the 25th of September, you announced a distribution agreement with Solstice Holdings.
Yes.
And remind me again, what is the real significance of that as it pertains to the JUJU Marley brand?
Well, that brings us into the very lucrative and important Washington State market. Solstice is based in Seattle. It's one of the largest producers and distributors in the state. And that Solstice footprint will provide JUJU Royal with a whole audience it has yet to enjoy. So we'll be able to bring high quality, beautifully packaged, sexy, sleek products for millennial males that come in at a mid-market price point. And we'll be able to now do that in Washington State. So that's the significance of that deal.
What's the population of Washington State?
That's a good question.
It's around 40 million in California, right?
Let's see. It's 36 million in Canada. It's 38 million in California, right? So there's 2 million more people in California.
I remember seeing Oregon's was.
It's small.
It's very small.
Yeah.
Washington's.
I want to say it's probably somewhere
10 million.
Around 7.5 million would be my guess.
What? 580. What?
Washington.
That's not
Washington, D.C.
Yeah, right. Okay. So Washington State. Here we go.
There we go.
13th largest state. And
13th largest. Wow.
13th largest.
I'm going to say about 7.5 million.
It's the 13th most populous. 7.4 million people. So
it was close.
That's a big market.
It is a big market, and it's also, like California, it's a diversified market, right? It has a really affluent constituency.
Yeah.
It's also got a that traditional kind of old school pot smoker. It has a working class constituency, so there's really a broad market there.
Sure.
Right.
Not unlike California, but more of a microcosm.
Yeah. So how important is it to International Cannabrands' success that the federal prohibition move forward or otherwise disappear? Is that a limiting factor in any way, shape, or form?
I think the only place it presents an issue, and it's not a real issue, is in banking, right? That's the one place where it's still kind of tricky. But the reality is, for us at International Cannabrands, we're happy that federal prohibition hasn't been repealed yet. And we're also happy that the drug hasn't been rescheduled. We think that'll be the next step, right? It'll go from Schedule 1, a Class A narcotic, to Schedule 2, and it'll be on par with like oxycodone. So what that means is the banks will come off the sidelines, right? But while we're in this period of what I'll call unrest, we have the opportunity to secure assets at a discount, because once the drug is rescheduled or once prohibition is repealed, the majors are going to come in. And for those of us who have acquired critical mass, who have put together a platform of businesses whose announcements are predicated on announcing acquisitions, EBITDA, earnings, that's my mantra, EBITDA, earnings, that's really going to distinguish us from the pack. And the majors will want to come in. But right now, with prohibition in place, I've got the opportunity to come in and actually secure these assets at a discount that I won't be able to do after prohibition is repealed.
All right, Steve. So you've got probably, by the way you're talking, you've got a whole bunch of things that you can't actually talk about now because they haven't been completed. But there's more meat coming to this bone, isn't there?
I'll tell you, my partner Neil, who you know, calls it this sort of referential roll-up strategy that I've never seen before, right? as is the case with Vida Verde, you find these excellent assets, and they're management teams that you've known for a long time in our case, right? There's a personal relationship there. It's a deep network from being a member of the community, having rolled up my sleeves and worked alongside these guys. And what happens is they get really excited. They've got the stock play, they get a piece of cash, there's the earnout piece. Once they understand it, all of a sudden they come to you and they say, hey, you know what, I've always wanted to put some money in my buddy's company, and I distribute some of his brands, he distributes some of mine, we work really well together, and the next thing you know, you're talking to 2, 3, 4 other companies. And that level of trust coming in from working with players who have formidable brands in the space, who only work with other qualified players, that's second to none. That's something that we as a company bring to the table that I don't see elsewhere.
Fascinating. All right, well, Steve, we're going to leave it there for now. We're going to come back to you again in due course and continue the conversation. Sounds like you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I love coming in, guys.
In keeping with our U.S. theme, in honor of Canaccord's U.S. Investment Conference today in the cannabis space, we talked to a gentleman by the name of Leonard Clough a short while ago, and he's with a company called Body and Mind, trading on the CSE under the symbol BAMM, and this is what he had to say. Welcome back to Midas Letter Live. My guest this segment is Leonard Clough. He is the CEO of Body and Mind, trading on the CSE under the symbol BAMM, B-A-M-M. Len, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, James.
We are, in fact, having an inaugural conversation with you in the context of BAMM, at least.
Indeed, indeed. Thanks for having us.
Sure. Why don't you start with an overview of what does BAMM do? Where does it do its thing?
Well, BAMM's primarily a Nevada-based company. It's one of the original cultivators, got one of the initial licenses when the new program came in for medical use. And company's been at it for about 4 years. Founded by a guy by the name of Robert Hasman with an investor group. Built that business up and spent a lot of time on the brand itself. And then we got more involved when the company went public about a year ago, James. So. We're about a year at it now, and now we're in Ohio as well. So we've got kind of a dual footprint, if you will, in both those states. Right.
This was one of the first projects that I ever visited in the U.S. realm.
That's right.
And so I remember that you had such a wide range of products that I was then able to see in other dispensaries around, because that was just after it went legal in Nevada on July 1st, 2017, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So have you, and at the time, I recall you were expanding and you were going to, try to keep up with the demand that had set in after July 2017.
Yeah, you're talking about a lot of the, I think you're talking about a lot of the production products and the edibles and whatnot. So yeah, we got a very active kitchen, but you're right, a lot of this is supply constrained, and everything we produce, we sell. The prices have been strong. We've been able to, to grow this business through that. But what I've said before is that we spent about the first half of this year fine-tuning everything in that operation, and then we took on a phase 2 expansion. And actually, you'll see that actually the plants have been populated in the rooms now, and you'll see the first harvest in December. And we anticipate that'll be about a 40% increase in production in Nevada.
Wow! So what kind of revenue numbers are you looking at?
Well, this year it's it's really our first true year in the public markets. It'll be about $5 million US. The operating business is profitable.
Right.
And what I'd like to bring to your attention, James, is that we look at when we did this deal about a year ago. It was about a $7 million raise that we did, and there was a payment to the original vendors and whatnot. So really, we were left with about $3 to $4 million. And throughout the past year, we've been able to apply for new licenses out of state.
Okay.
We've added CO2, new drip systems, and a whole bunch of different initiatives. We've got 4 applications pending now for retail in Nevada.
Oh.
So, what I think we've done is that we've shown that we've been great stewards of capital, built that business up. Now it's making money, and we look at taking those same principles into Ohio.
Yeah, we're looking at your chart here, and it's you've really started to take off in the northerly direction. So is this a reflection of the fact that you've got this expansion underway and it's all starting to happen?
Well, I think there was a few different things, but I'd say for surely the expansion was one driver. But it was our success in processing applications in Ohio, which I think really kind of separated ourselves from from some of the other players that, we're applying for these licenses. We're not paying market prices for them, so we're putting our sweat equity into getting these licenses, and we've been awarded 2 of them. We've been awarded a dispensary license in it's called Elyria. It's Lorain County in Ohio. And we've also got a production license. So I think what you're seeing is a few things kind of come together. I think the U.S. trades on in a big way, and so I think we're getting a little uptick everywhere. And I think that we've been dealing with a number of different parties, and I think that the general report card would be when they see the operation is that these guys have really dialed it in. It's not, this business, it's still a very young business, and I think we made all the mistakes you could possibly make, but now we're dialing it in. We have less staff turnover. We've got new product introductions, our yields. We've got CO2 coming in at December this year, and we're going to see probably another jump of 15 to 20% in efficiencies there. So I think it's probably a culmination of a number of different factors.
Right. So what is the highest margin product that in the BAMM sort of inventory?
It would be the edibles,
Yeah.
I'd say.
And what percentage of the sales are edibles as 100% of the whole? Just curious.
That's a loaded question. It's probably only about 10%. However, it's a split of about 50% to 50% in terms of flower versus the production department. So in that production department, obviously our oils are very well regarded. I think
your gummies are very well regarded too.
The gummies and the beef jerky.
I
And
had one of those gummies in Vegas when I was there. Just about blew my head off. I had to be escorted back to my hotel room.
Well, you got to be worried about the dosages on those, and
Right.
so we're doing this micro dosing, but
That was not microdosed.
no,
That was mega dosed.
That's right. Yeah.
But enjoyed it. So are the high potency products really popular?
Well, I think it's transitioning. I think the average guy in the medical system knew exactly what he was buying. Right? He'd go in, he's getting 100 milligrams of or 300 milligrams in some of these granola bars we have. He knows exactly how to eat it, and there's no problem. Well, as you transition into this very new market with the adult use, people don't really know that. Well, why is 300 a big deal? As opposed to 10 or 20. So I think what you'll see with a lot of the players, and we're already seeing it now, is that they're bringing down the dosages, and actually your margins are going up because there's more THC to spread around. Of
so
course,
people
right?
do prefer the lower dosage stuff as a percentage of the population. Too.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to keep them safe. We don't want to have anyone have a bad experience, and then they're we got this it's a premium product. We're trying to maintain that name, and that's why we're talking about introducing another line, another brand that would kind of sit underneath that, so we don't touch that. But we want everyone to have a good experience and a good medical experience if you need medication.
So what is the size of the Nevada market in its entirety?
Well, the first 6 months was about $450 million, or sorry, that was the first year, $450 million. So it kind of blew all the initial expectations of $250 million out of the water. The state collected $70 million in taxes. So I'd say for all intents and purposes, it's been an absolute home run for the state. Right.
What percentage of that market do you expect that BAMM will be able to capture in the next few years?
It's a good question. We want to be a premium grow. Okay, so we want to be that 20 to 25,000 square foot facility. Where we want to spend more time on now is we want to get into more of the kitchen products, production products, more of the oils, and introduce different offerings as they come and go. So I guess we need to we bring on the phase 2 expansion. We'll have more flower and stuff to dedicate to that department, but ultimately I think you're going to see the growth side of things get more and more commoditized. We want to position ourselves where we have a bigger production department, and I think maybe you remember, but we have a very, very talented production department.
Yep.
And the guy scores very well with industry experts.
Right.
So we're really proud of that.
Yeah,
and we just brought in a confectionery chef to run the kitchen products, and she's done unbelievable. And she's got new ideas, and so we're really excited about that. So if you ask me where we're going to focus our business is going to be accessing more of the more trim in the third-party market. Also maybe looking at doing an offtake with some of the bigger grows and get more into the production products. So we're not wanting to go down that model of, you know, the massive cultivation facilities. We want to kind of leverage our brand and to copy what we've done in Nevada, in Ohio, and then do some tuck-on kind of acquisitions here and there and really make it juicy.
How long is it going to take till Ohio is on stream in terms of the financials of the company?
It's going to take a while. It's a medical rollout.
Right.
You know, there's not a lot of flower that's going to be in the market when it starts.
So you're still planning to buy flower and trim, or you're going to grow flower?
Yeah. So right now we have a retail license as well as a production license in Ohio.
Okay.
So we plan on opening the retail before the end of the year. In fact, Robert Hasman's in Ohio this week. You know, with some interview and some staffing and whatnot. So I think we'll be one of the first in the state to open, and then it'll probably take at least another 6 months to get the production department going there. But at the same time, we are looking at maybe tying in one of these. There's a Tier 1 and a Tier 2 grow license in Ohio. We'd like to tag one of those on into you know, into the whole picture to be vertically integrated there.
What is the difference between Tier 1 and 2?
It's just the size.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's a very limited licensing regime. That's why I think a lot of the Ohio players have done really well in the market, because they know that that's a very tough market to get into.
Right.
You know, many of the big guys got shut down with, you know, for licenses there, and I think you know a few of them.
Yeah. The state started with a total of 11 licenses. Did they expand that eventually?
Well, that was just on the Tier 1 cultivation licenses.
Okay.
And then there's more dispensaries, is upwards of, you know, 30. But you know, it's a state of 12 million people.
Right.
Just within our, you know, if you're to draw a circle around our dispensary we have in Lorain County, there's probably 1.5 million people within a 20-minute drive. So that's really exciting, and there's only 2 players that are going to be open in that area. So we think it's a very special asset, and then we'll probably see cultivation if we end up getting a deal done. There's been no deal done yet, but when and if that happens, I think you'll probably see that kind of mid next year.
Okay, very good. Leonard, we're going to leave it there for now. Thanks for joining me today.
James, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Twice, like you said you were going to, and you never put the orders
Yeah,
up.
welcome back. That was Leonard Clough from Body and Mind. Looks like things might be exploding there. Full disclosure, was a shareholder. I'm not currently, but I'm thinking about it. Just saying. As Ed would say, just saying.
Think of going back in.
I'm thinking of going back in. Ed, I would like to draw your and our audience's attention to a rather revealing advertisement that was placed in the Wall Street Journal by a group of cannabis entrepreneurs in the United States. And it's hilarious because it's essentially a cry for help.
Are they getting nervous?
Well, just let me ask you this.
Dear Mr. President.
Paid advertisement. This is full-page Wall Street Journal. We need your help. The rapidly growing American cannabis industry represents an extraordinary economic opportunity for our country, yet Canada is threatening to deprive American farmers, workers, and businesses from the prosperity that rightly belongs within our borders. Pipeline! The legal cannabis sector has proven its ability to stimulate our domestic economy and provide well-paying jobs to Americans in numerous states from coast to coast. Data from legal states also shows a reduction in opiate abuse and associated overdose, which, as you have said on multiple occasions, is a national crisis that should not be ignored. Yeah, do you know how you found that out? Canadian Capital! Canadian Capital. Canadian Capital. Was it Canadian Capital? But look at this whole thing goes on, and it's basically we want regulation, and it's just pathetic. You know, we should place an ad in the Wall Street Journal saying, "Dear Mr. President,
send us some money.
You have been whoring the US dollar around the world for so many years that it now chokes the financial system to the point of obscurity. Fundamentals don't matter. Valuations are chasing insane things. Commodities have crashed. You single-handedly destroyed the global economy with the US dollar, and you put this thing in there crying because we take a little bit of cannabis. Well,
Did Trump post that thing?
no, this is to Trump.
Oh.
But I find it hilarious. It's such, I mean, I'm probably going to meet these guys at some point, and they're never going to want to talk to me, but we're going to get Derek Peterson in here to talk about this.
That's the TER.
And I am having a little bit of, no, it's not. And I am having a little bit of fun at Americans' expense, but that's what we do here. We're bored. And I think you're absolutely right. We would be happy too if your president could get his head out of his
Dupa.
and could get federal deprohibition
That's for all
happening,
the
because then
Polish-
we could come in and cut the rest of your grass. Woohoo! Cannabis by Canadians. Yes, indeed.
I'd like to hear from some of the Polish viewers that know a few of the Polish cuss words.
Anyways,
Just
so what do you
saying.
think of that, Ed?
Well, you know, I mean, look, there's the haves in the world and there's the have-nots. If you don't have anything, then you feel a bit, you
What,
know.
you're actually, oh, that's a special head. Here comes Socrates. Why, we're looking a little late without him?
To add a little deepness to our. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, at the end of the day, you know, here we are. Now we got to try and justify everything. I don't know. So, what do you think? You think? Sounds to me like this whole U.S. Canada being concerned about crossing borders is slowly going away.
No, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah,
in
but-
fact, in the context of this ad, here's the really funny thing. This is like 2 days ago in the Wall Street Journal. Do you know what's happening today in downtown Toronto in the financial district? Canaccord Genuity is holding a U.S. cannabis investor conference.
Yeah.
American companies looking to raise capital are coming up here to get the money because they can't get it down there, thanks to dear Mr. President.
Thanks to him.
Well, he's failed to legalize cannabis even in the
But
face
if
of massive...
Obama had a chance.
Obama had 2 states legal under his regime, and so arguably, yeah, he failed too. But my point is, this person, whatever his surname is, has yet to pull the United States into the 21st century.
Right.
That is why, one of the reasons why Canada has stolen the opportunity economically.
So we should be glad about that.
Well, we should be as Canadians, yeah, because
Yeah.
thanks to, here's what you need to think about. You need to think about in America how corrupt the legislative process has become at the hands of big pharma lobby, which actually, while making it easier for big pharma companies like Purdue to bleed opiates into the mainstream supply chain, we're simultaneously pressuring state and federal governments to come down harder on cannabis laws. So it's like you are now sleeping in a bed of your own making, and a letter to the president, dysfunctional as he is ain't gonna help. Just here to tell you.
No.
So anyways, that's what a lot of people would like you to believe, is that the opportunity is going to be moving to the U.S. upon federal deprohibition, but I can tell you, investors, that this is not the case. The opportunity in cannabis globally is now defined by Canadian experience, Canadian regulation, and Canadian know-how, and that's going to be a very hard thing to overcome. There's my patriotic 2 bits. Now, I'm sure the American audience is going to be like, fuck that James West, he's anti-American. And I say, soft.
How many viewers have we got right now?
How many viewers have we got? As I continue?
I should have said it 5 minutes ago, and then we see how many we got now and see.
Well, we can tell because the chart will show us how many visits we had 5 minutes ago.
All right.
Let's just take a quick look at that, Ed.
All right.
If you're not in appreciation for what I'm saying and you don't agree, feel free to just, bugger off. Go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Find somebody else. There's 5 billion YouTube channels. We are certainly not the most interesting. Although maybe we are. Nah, I doubt it. Anyways, let's see here. Boy, oh boy. 8,996 subscribers. We got 80% of those in the last 3 months.
Really?
So
How long have I been on the show?
You've been on the show since February 2014.
Really?
Well, I mean, starting off with the podcasting.
Yeah.
All right, right now on the show, Ed, 138 people. And no, we actually increased our viewership in the last couple minutes. Ooh, look at this. We got some agreement here. Oh, Canada. They don't comply, they will be voted out. 10% agree. Get the forks and torches. So, okay, there's my tin hat. I'm taking it off now and getting back into my investor seat here. And yeah, anyways, let's take a look at the markets. And enough with this patriotic cross-national bullshit. We're all brothers here. We're all family, Edward. We're all friends.
We're all
It's a big cake.
Adams and Eves.
Some of us are Steves.
Adams and Eves and Steves. Okay. So
let's take a look at the market now.
Let's see where the action is. I want to see some of these.
Now, look at that. We have a contradictory day in the markets. Looking at our indexes up there on the old NDI. Here we go. So down 0.22%. How is that for inconclusive?
That means nothing.
But the small cap's up 1.4%. That's
right.
a little bit better than inconclusive.
Yeah.
And the CSE index is up 1.72%. That's definitely a little bit more decisive. And then, of course, the venture index is down 2.02%. So I guess overall you would say it's a sideways market.
And I think today, if I'm not mistaken, it was a very bad day for the big markets in the U.S.
Was a bad day for the U.S. cannabis markets?
No, just the general markets. But sometimes, when you get big selling in the general market, it can,
Let's take a look at Bloomberg.com. Not that they need any more help from us, but Canadian pot will lose out to U.S. brand behemoths, firms say. Look at that. Even Bloomberg is still smoking the delusional herb. It's been legal for one day in Canada. They came over here, got high, and came up with this idea. Really? We shall see, won't we? We shall see. How are the U.S.? The U.S. is so far behind, it's insane. Even the Tilray guys, even the guys from Silicon Valley had to come up here to get a marijuana company going because it just ain't happening in the U.S. So let's see. But what I wanted to look at, Ed, I wanted to look at commodities, markets, commodities. I wanted to look at the price of gold here again because
it was up earlier.
Well, gold is apparently continuing. Oh, what happened? These guys, oh, there's their chart. What happened? They used to have a big chart, now they got a small view full chart. Okay, here we go. Come on, Bloomberg.
Yeah. And
holy cow, is this slight slow or what? Yes, mainstream news. Okay, while Bloomberg's waiting to load, Ed, what else have you got going on in your universe?
Well, I'm sort of watching this and that. I'm sort of paying attention, doing this.
Yeah.
It's hard not to follow these marijuana stocks. Tilray is up $1.35 today.
Tilray. Tilroy's up $1.35.
T-God down.
Yeah.
So what do you think is the one that seems to have the worst structure of all the ones that you know of?
The worst structure of all the cannabis companies I know of?
Yeah. Like
the worst structure of all the cannabis, well, probably the ones I'm invested in. No, I'm just kidding. That would be mean to say that. No, the worst structure. Structure is, the worst structure, I think, are the ones where there's no voting power on behalf of the shareholder.
Right.
Besides the right to sell the share, which is in and of itself a vote. Now, that being said, I would also point out that the ones with the most diluted share structures, shall we call, in terms of number of shares out relative to market cap, those are also the ones that are trading the highest volumes on a daily basis in the market. Those are the ones that are delivering 10x performances in like sub-year time frames. So the cannabis universe has changed my sort of entire mindset about tight structures. It used to be like, I don't want to invest in a company with 200 million shares out because to get that much value per share, the company's got to accomplish that much more. Now, it's like, well, we're not trading on value in the cannabis space anyways. We're trading on speculation and promotional power. And so when a company like Huge comes along, for an example, and goes from 9 cents to 90 cents in the course of like 2 months of being public, you really got to question, as an investor, it's like, do I really care about the company and its business, or do I care about turning $10 into $100 in 3 months.
What was the value-added catalyst that moved it from, say, 9 cents to 90 cents?
The value-added catalyst was Sachamans. Sachamans, that's what. If you don't know who Sachamans are a mysterious force in the universe.
You have your papers,
that
please?
comes out of the
Are your papers in order?
Actually, I had a beer with Anthony Durkach last night, who is on the board of FSB.
He's a big shareholder, apparently.
He owns over 120 million shares and hasn't sold a single one. He told me yesterday he's given 120 million shares to charity, which is like, wow. He's doing another deal coming up called Pump is the symbol. It's called International Extracts, and full disclosure, I am going to be a shareholder of that company. I think I already am. Actually, it's closed today. I think I already am.
How much? Oh no, no.
Well, no quantities. We're not allowed to have quantities.
Right.
But yeah, and
but
the reason
more than $5,000.
More than $5,000, yes.
More than less than
less
than $1 million.
No. We're not going down that road.
Okay.
Anyways, we had a really interesting conversation with some people about the whole idea of traffic and safety. And so we sent some people out onto the street to ask them about their road safety. Actually, you know what? Hold that thought. There used to be a piece of paper here that...
There'd be a lot less road rage if they let people smoke dope and drive.
Well, not necessarily. The problem with people who drive high is they go too slow.
No, but
the federal government
they wouldn't fight, though.
Well, they wouldn't fight, but the people who they made crazy by going 20 miles an hour in the fast lane would cause accidents and homicides, because they'd be getting driven crazy by the
Speaking of going crazy, did you hear what happened in Crimea?
So anyways, we're going to throw to that segment, the road safety segment.
I'm going to tell you about this first.
The federal government is doing its best to assure the public that they are ready to identify drivers who are high on cannabis. Police officers, however, aren't so sure. And Liz West has more.
Ottawa has spent $161 million this past year alone to train police on how to detect drivers who are high. They've also approved special drug screening equipment to help them identify these drivers. The problem? Police forces like the Toronto Police Force are reluctant to use them.
The federal government under Bill 46 has approved the use of a saliva testing mechanism to be able to test THC in a suspected impaired driver by cannabis or other narcotics. Police services, some have purchased the technology, some are waiting. What's important in this is that none of this has been tested through the judicial system and through a court of law. And there is no doubt that all of that will be challenged up through, and I believe to the Supreme Court of Canada, on the legitimacy of this technology. I'd like everyone to be a drug recognition expert, to be able to form the opinion evidence and be able to testify in court. Right now, I believe there's in the area of 800 that have been trained. Police services are looking for upward of 2,000 to have them trained.
A recent study commissioned by Public Safety Canada revealed that 28% of respondents admitted to having driven high. And that's got organizations like Mothers Against Drunk Driving a little worried.
Is greatly concerning to Med Canada. Unlike alcohol, where we and other traffic safety organizations have gotten the message across that you can't drive if you're impaired by alcohol, this message doesn't seem to have resonated with people in regards to cannabis.
Minister of Border Security and Organized Crime Reduction, Bill Blair, is assuring Canadians that they are prepared. He says there will be some growing pains, but he's confident in the police community to keep the roads safe. For Midas Letter Live, I'm Liz West.
Not that I think road safety and cannabis is funny. You were going to tell me something about Crimea today, Ed.
Yeah, so you know how they're always talking about people, you know, losing their minds, up people. So some 18-year-old student in Crimea, which is
mass shooting.
Yeah,
at a college.
18. He killed 18 people and injured 50 more.
Do you want to see something, Edward? And you're going to think I'm an opportunistic, cold-hearted capitalist son of a bitch for bringing this up. But you see this company right here? Oh, wait a sec. Here it comes. Any minute now.
All together now.
What company is this, Edward? No, this is
Patriot.
not correct. Yeah. What? $1.67. This is wrong.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. It's where the arrow.
Right. Where the arrow was. See this? This was where the. Well, actually, that's interesting. So, a mass shooting in Crimea did not have an uplifting effect on Patriot One stock.
And it should, right?
Well, the mass shooting in October last year.
Yeah.
You want to see what that looks like on the Patriot One chart? Not that, and this sounds extremely cruel and insensitive, but this is that shooting right here.
Yeah.
In October 2nd, 2017.
That was the one in Vegas.
That was the one in Vegas.
Yeah.
Where 50 people lost their
Well,
lives.
there you go. So it reacted there, but it didn't react here. Now, why is that?
Because it was maybe only 8 people. It was in Crimea, which is in a state of rebellion/war anyways, where people are dying. And probably most of the people active in the U.S. markets tend to think of Crimea as some backwater where nothing matters because they're, people in North America tend to be a little bit myopic when it comes to world events. Do you agree with that statement? Particularly in the United States of America?
Sure.
Yeah. The only time they like to look across the border is when somebody's cutting their grass and they have to come up with an advertisement like this just to try to get a little market action.
Was the guy who wrote that a Canadian?
No, the gentleman's name is Derek Peterson, CEO and chairman of TerraTech Corp. He's going to be on our show to talk about this at some point, and that's probably going to be next week. But he might get angry at the pot shots I'm taking at the U.S. as a result of that ad.
Right.
But chances are it will also make him angrier, and he'll want to get on the show and tell me what an asshole I am, which is I'm fine with that. I get told that by a million people a day. So
okay,
let's see.
All right. Yeah,
What?
Random violence isn't.
Random violence.
Like when you see people going into schools and shooting everybody.
Oh, that's just sick.
It's just unbelievable.
Well, that's why the Patriot One system, and people want to know about Patriot One, and Patriot One has been on a bit of a tear. I'm going to go back to this chart.
Yeah, that's a good one, yeah.
And people are wondering why Patriot One is on such a tear. I mean, there are those who know, and there are those who don't. I was out at the Patriot One demonstration facility in Kelowna last week. And I shot a bunch of video, and unfortunately I haven't had time to make it into a video segment yet, which I'm going to hope to do this weekend before I leave. But Patriot One has got like 10,000 hot leads in its order book. 10,000.
Wow.
Yeah. This thing's like going to be, I don't know, I think it's going to be mind-blowing. Full disclosure, I'm a shareholder from a long time ago. I still have 100,000 shares in the deal. I have, I'm an actually contracted advisor to the company. So that full disclosure, basically I'm not to be trusted, but I can say that from what I've seen, like, whoo, this thing's gonna be like, man.
Look at Ianthus here. It's up 54 cents.
Tired of talking about security stocks, are you, Edward? That's it. Ed's done with that.
I jump
Boring!
around. I jump around.
You too. So Ianthus, Ianthus and MPX are combining. Did you see that news? Ianthus bought MPX. That's why MPX is up so much. Look at Chiron's down 5 cents.
Yeah.
If you want to be distracted. Let's see.
Put up the chart of Relic.
Okay, Relic Health. So just for preamble, audience folks, peoples. When you look at this chart,
you met Lisa.
Lisa's been on our show.
Crossley, right?
Yeah.
RLQ
is it?
PhD. Very
RLH.
Very bright.
RLH, I think it is.
RHT.
RHT. Yes. Okay. There we go. RHT. So Relic Health. Look at this dramatic sell-off.
Yeah.
Like,
whoa.
Oh!
Okay. So put up a 3-month chart there.
A 3-month chart.
Yeah.
You want to make it look better.
No. What I want to do is show again to people that like to trade. You see something that's going in a trend. Wait. put up the Bollinger Bands and wait for the move outside the band. And why this happens 9 times out of 10, I'll never know. But if you'd have bought it that day and just said, I'm going to wait 48 hours, you'd have doubled your money. Just saying.
32 to 57. Well, you could have, yeah, close to it.
Well, but this is the lowest 23. You could have bought it in here. Yeah. And I'm just saying.
Now, so what caused this to sell off so dramatically?
Well, they said they had to restate one of their quarters.
Okay, and it was not well restated?
Well, what happened was, and I did a cursory review of the press release. It basically said that, you know, they did these contracts down in Texas. Like a lot of this is, I think, like a home care kind of software.
Basically, you have your own device, you report on your chronic care condition.
And they're having trouble collecting some of their fees. So the auditors are saying, well, if you don't collect the fees, why do you keep calling it revenue?
Oh, so they're getting stiffed.
Well,
are their clients dying on them? And not paying? They got to collect from the estate.
They go to pay. Just before they pay, they croak.
So I'll bet you that maybe that's an aggressive sales approach that they have, where they're taking on people before finding out their capacity and their history of payment in an effort in pursuit of revenue, which is admirable. I know, except this is how that whole thing goes up in your face.
And you know what? These trend lines are deeply ensconced in a downward trend. Now we've got a bit of relief today.
Those look like wounds to me.
When you come out and basically say that a bunch of revenue that you thought you had is no longer there because, you know, nobody's paying. I don't know the specifics, but at the end of the day, the stock gets hammered. Look at this. Like, this thing was 260 a few months ago. 260.
Yeah. Well, let's pull out. It did peak at about up here. February this year, it was up at 223.
Okay.
Okay, wait, there's a higher one next door. That's 246, I guess, is the high.
Okay.
But yeah, was a high flyer, was a darling. Lisa Crossley, when she was here, was telling us about the rate at which she was adding patients, and it's like the only reason I didn't buy shares in this company when she was here. This is when she was here, by the way.
So why didn't you buy? Why didn't you?
Because we had her on the show. This is where we had her on the show. If you look at the cursor, that's where we had her on the show, and that's what happened after that. So you know, I'm not into chasing ambulances. I'm not into chasing stocks. There's a lot of things I'm not into chasing. I'm not into chasing the dragon. And so I didn't buy it. It took off, and it was like, you know, it was going so hard and fast back here that I was just like, oh, it's gone. I missed my opportunity. And, you know, today, I must say, I am pretty happy about that.
Yeah, well, maybe, but again, you could have bought it in the 20s the other day.
Yeah, I could have.
And you should have.
But I'm not that kind of trader. I'm not that swift. I don't sit by my computer all day looking for a trade because we got this little place here.
So the only again, you know what, and
see, but look again. There's the Bollinger Bands narrowing before a dramatic move.
Yeah,
narrowing before a dramatic move to the downside.
You see it.
But look at here, Edward.
Now they're very wide, the bands, right?
Yeah, so but where's the narrowing? Where's the pinch that should have preceded this drop?
Well, it doesn't happen. It's not always black and white. There's an element of shades of gray there. In other words, you might say, look, they're pretty narrow here, right?
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah.
But you saw this, and these things don't just end quietly; they end violently, and now it ended.
Right.
And you know, I kind of think that this is a pretty good bottom here.
But in that, the catalyst that caused this downward trajectory was fundamental in nature.
Yes.
Is it not conceivable that this might be a dead cat bounce catalyzed by technicals?
I would not, listen, when I hear accounting issues, I'm out.
You're gone? So you might have rushed in and you might have bought it back today.
For a trade.
But what if everybody says, no, this does not deserve to bounce?
I know, but I'm saying if you wait for a trade where the Bollingers are outside the band, as they are here, you got a chance to get out.
But
you could be out by now.
You're talking a day trade. You're not talking a buy and hold situation.
No, because I think a lot of our viewers are probably people that like a little action.
A little action.
Hey.
Little action in the bullpen?
See you at John and Sons later.
Not John and Sons again. Come on, we got to go
We're
somewhere
going to change our
else once in a
venue.
while.
We're going to change our venue. In fact, you know what we're going to do? We're going to pick 2 places, and we'll say, take your pick, and we'll be at one of them.
You go at one of them. Oh, okay. We don't know which one
don't
we're
know
gonna.
yet.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? Who are you going to call? Ghostbusters. Anyways, all right. So what else is going on in the news today?
Well, let's look at weed. Let's look at weed, because weed is our sort of our poster boy, right? In a sense.
Poster child. Weed is our bellwether.
Yeah.
Weed is off $1.66, 64.10.
Okay.
Nothing spectacular there.
The only thing I want to point out here is from just a technical. The day before the legalization, we had a run, and this is a sort of this looks to me like hitting into resistance, but we challenged this previous high here, and then the next day we went through it, but then we sold off. So I'm not going to say it's a breakout. It's very close to a breakout, but
Breakout to the downside?
the breakout to the upside.
Oh,
It's very close, but I wouldn't call it a genuine breakout.
Yeah.
Because this high here, somebody, my friend from,
Are you high here? Can you hear through that ear when you're high here? So this is the thing, though. So the catalyst, fundamentally, sector-wide, was the legalization of cannabis.
Yeah.
The Ontario cannabis store, at least we know of, actually executed with aplomb. There's some criticism about some of the rudimentary functionality of the site, but I think, and we did invite the cannabis store to come on and talk about it, but it looks like the Ontario cannabis store is going to adopt one of those holier-than-thou, we're too good to talk to the likes of you lowly media losers.
but they're too busy filling orders too. They can't come out here because
Well, not everybody's filling orders.
yeah, they are.
Not everybody.
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 I'm told
the president on down.
from the OCS.
Doug Ford's in there
Or is that
packing
the
envelopes.
OSC?
The OSC is packing envelopes, but not full of cannabis.
If I called the OSC, I said my name was Ed Milewski, they might say, "We've been looking for you."
Yeah, we've
have?
heard about you. Yes.
Okay, so look, weed. I mean, even like without sounding. I mean, look, with the big money. I mean, I was talking to a young fellow here yesterday who's Greg.
When you say young,
Greg,
you're like 50, 55.
under between
Anybody
40
under
and
60.
50.
Okay.
Youngsters.
Damn, so I'm out of that mix now.
Just barely.
I'm an old fart. No, I'm 54, Edward. 54 years old, damn it. Gonna have a birthday party.
You know, like young Greg Everett.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time remembering that. Is that a seniors thing? I'm looking forward to that.
I seem to remember it very well. If you just
You were smoking some big fat cannon last night, as I recall.
The big boy.
And you guys were goofy.
oh Jesus!
Did you get a little high last night?
sticky.
I saw you being supported by two women on one woman on either side.
Yeah, well,
And you lost your marbles a bit. Did you have a couple of drinks too?
that's the only thing I lost though.
Since everything else has already been lost in the past, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay,
Let's take
so-
a look at Afria announced today that it's going to start trading on the NYSE. Let's see what effect that had on Afria's stock. Just to be fair, we can't be all about the cannabis.
I thought Aurora was going on the NSE.
Oh yeah, just Aurora? No, Aurora too. Afria and Aurora both announced. Look at what kind of effect did that have today? They got a bit of a lift.
And
Up 15
again,
cents to 1955.
while we're in this, we had the big early 2018, major top. But I don't. Whichever way this thing breaks from here.
Yeah.
And right now it's sort of in a state of limbo. But if it were to curl down, I would be bearish. Obviously.
Yeah.
And if it curls up, it's very bullish.
So this is what we don't want to see. Down. Look at that.
Well,
I just
look at
drew an
the-
ellipse.
Lips or hips?
Okay, I want to point something out here, Ed. Okay, I'm going to draw a circle because this is going to make my case. Oops, that's not quite. But okay, so oops, what happened there? Now I can't move it. Oh no! Nope, can't move it. Okay, so let me try that again. Look at this section here. This was January 2018. What happened in January 2018? Constellation Brands bought 10% of Canopy, and while simultaneously almost, BMO raised them $220 some odd million in a bought deal. That was a sector-wide catalyst that lifted all boats, and the whole sector went up here. This is Aphria was a, not a direct beneficiary of this, but an indirect beneficiary in that its stock price went up. We have the same thing happening here with the legalization of cannabis, and starting back in August, where Constellation Brands bought the rest of Canopy, you got this whole massive value catalyst happening again. It's matching its high over here, but now what have you got, Ed? Double head and shoulders.
Double head and shoulders.
Double mint gum.
You either got head and shoulders or you got double top.
Double top. That's
double head and shoulders.
Double head and shoulders.
You gotta like James West for sticking his neck out and going into that technical jargon. He likes that.
I like
double head and shoulders. Jesus, new term has been coined here on the show today.
I like to make up new terms, Ed.
Yeah.
Anyways. Control room people. I'm wondering if we have a gentleman who runs a store in Newfoundland that actually ran out of cannabis yesterday.
Jesus.
And so we're hopefully getting him on the Skype, but the control room hasn't given me any update on that. Control room, are we going to have that gentleman?
He should just load up the truck on the OCS and then bring it over to his shop. You could do that, right?
No word from the control room.
Cross-border
Try again.
shopping.
Okay, so we're also going to look at ACB. Let's see how ACB responded to the, let's just go intraday here.
Wow, I got to tell you.
So this is ACB.
That's one day.
Yeah, this is, yay, big news. ACB is going to be on the NYSE. Boo, that means 10 times more people will be able to short them.
Quite frankly, put up the one-year chart on the ACB, please.
One-year chart coming up.
You know what the ACB used to be in the accounting profession? Adjusted cost base.
Oh, really? It's not anymore? Now it stands for Aurora Cannabis?
What's your view on the Aurora Cannabis there, young accountant? Have you done your inventory section yet?
Yeah. So technically, though, now we've got one of our friends who's in the market making trade telling us that this thing's going to $20 based on technicals. I got another guy who's a younger fella who's trading options, writing options, trading options, writing calls. And
writing is another word for selling.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Anyways, he's saying that no, Aurora is the one that's the worst of the top 5, and he's the one that he's banking on going down. So it's interesting to me because we got two, more or less professional
diametrically
types.
Opposed views.
That thing, exactly. Diametrically opposed viewpoints. One of them's going to be wrong.
Yeah.
And then you know what?
The other one's going to be right.
I could be wrong, I could be right. So we're going to see about that. What do you think? What do you think? What's this telling you, Ed? What's your technical?
I'll tell you. Okay, so on this one,
yeah,
I don't like this candle here, this red one.
Does that translate into you think it's going down?
I need a little more time, but if this thing can get going and then rolls over, yeah, I'd say it looks like a bit of a double top, but if it breaks out the other way, maybe it's going to go to 20 or 30 or 40.
20 or 30 or 40. Whoa! That's quite a bold statement. Boy, you better not own any of this stock, Edward. Anyways, so let's take a look at some of our others.
It was $5, and Donnie was telling us, our friend Donnie.
Organogram, taking a bit of a hit on the chin.
Wow.
Chin. But look at that chart.
Now that one looks very...
Look at that chart, though. Like, you just buy this and put it away, and if it's going to do this all day, like with these little things, these are not heart stoppers. This is not the kind of stuff that makes you think, panic time, Chicken Little, sky is falling, gotta sell, run away. No. This is tolerable volatility. Would you not say? Would you consider this a narrow bandwidth of volatility?
Is that taller Cranston vulnerability?
Boy, have you been drinking? What's in this thing anyways?
It's coffee.
Smells a little boozy. A little boozy there, Edward.
Susie.
Come on, technical man, give me some technical feedback
This one looks a lot better.
There, that's what I'm after, Edward. OG high is a buy.
This one looks like the world didn't perceive it to be what it was back here.
Yeah.
But over here,
Yeah.
it's
So
changed.
technically, is this a buy? That's
This
all
looks pretty good, except the one
See?
proviso is, back on the legal date,
Yeah.
we tried to go crazy,
Yeah.
and we reversed. Now we came back here, and I
Yeah.
want to see where this is in a week from now or 2 weeks from now.
All right.
Because I get the sense that there's big resistance up in here.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. Okay.
but it's look,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a lot higher than where it was a year ago,
Yeah.
or 9 months ago.
Yep. Yep. Okay, let's take a look
With commensurate.
let's take a look at the
increase in
JUJU
volume.
today. I got to admit, I sold a little JUJU today. You know why?
You did, eh?
Yeah, because I got too big a size on it. I got too much size on it.
And you had even more earlier.
Yeah, I know, but I don't like being that exposed to.
You know what? I think. Listen, I've always said, if something's on your mind, deal with it.
Yeah, well. And now I'm thinking I sold too soon, Ed. Now what do I do?
No,
Buy
no,
it, buy it.
did you sell a tenth of your position?
Yes, 10%.
Well, there you go.
Yep. So I am up.
Do you feel better about that?
I do. Yeah,
Good.
I do.
Good.
I do. You know, it's not so much about the.
No.
It's not so much that I feel like I've sold too soon. It's just that there's so many more volatile opportunities that I can get in front of, that the opportunity cost of having stock tied up even for a couple weeks in this market is too great.
had.
It's like if you're not going to move in a couple weeks, bye.
I have a modest portfolio, modest by most standards, and I've had a lot of money tied up in Crown mining. To your point, and it's been dead money.
I made money on crowd mining twice in the last 2 weeks. I did really well with crowd mining.
You did?
I did.
How did you do that?
Well, bought low, sold high.
Wow.
Yeah. I made like 25% on both trades.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you
and
go.
like in like 1 week windows. It's like I could probably, you know, that's the funny thing about Crown. It trades between 8 and 12 cents like clockwork. You can
Really?
Like that's like a 50% win, 8 to
If
12
you,
cents.
yeah, exactly.
So
now
you
look
can
at
build a position at 8 cents, and then you wait for copper to get a little bump and some new stuff to start happening, and boom, out at 12.
Well, I think you and I have to go out with Steve in the
Done.
near future.
Yes.
And there's been some, I think,
Developments.
new developments.
Yeah, we can't really talk about
No,
those.
because we don't.
Well, no, I'm not a shareholder as of today.
I am a big shareholder.
Are you? Good.
For me.
Big shareholder. You mean like not a tall shareholder?
Like a big, yeah.
Big.
Let's
Let's take a look at one of our other clients today. We're going to look at YOLO. You only live once on the CSE. Weekend Unlimited, still showing as open source health in the quote stream desktop, which is kind of to be expected. But don't look at back here because that's not YOLO. It just started trading about 5 days ago, and yeah, no, this is its 4th day trading. 28.5, a couple nice volume spikes in here, 454,000. But yeah, off to a quiet start. But you know, last financing was done at 20 cents, and so you know this thing's going to hold in at least 20, 25 until the hold comes off that stock. No, that's when the real promotion begins. That's when the real marketing effort begins, and that's when this stock, I think, is really going to start to show some strength. Another client of ours that we should mention today is Wayland Group. They just joined us as a client. Why isn't it coming up? Oh boy, this is tragic. Yeah, okay, still formerly known as Marican. Now at $1.75.
That's 5 day chart. Let's put up a
1 year?
3 month.
3 months.
3 months, 6 month, 1 year. Take your pick.
Okay, there you have it.
Yeah.
So this is where we got started, right in here.
And can I just point out again this little tell here?
Yeah.
Below the band,
Yeah.
nice bounce. Just saying.
Yeah. Below the band, nice
Is it
bounce.
that simple? Is it that simple?
So now,
Okay.
but how are you going to know when you're going to see that? Like you don't see that till the next day.
No, you'll see it that day.
Okay, so this is today's candle right here, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's well inside. Yeah, you see. Okay.
So is there an analysis protocol where you can say, show me all stocks?
Probably.
That are
Now you're
outside the
talking.
Bollinger Band.
Now you're trying to find an advanced technique that maybe I'm not ready for.
Why not?
Because maybe I'm not that smart.
Well, but that's if I listen to you, I'm going to say, well, I want to invent a routine that algorithmically analyzes Bollinger Bands, and when something falls outside of the Bollinger Bands on a down day, then I want to be a buyer of that stock before the end of the day.
You know, we had these. This obviously was below, but then rallied back.
Yeah.
You know, these tails, and then all of a sudden this flushing, and here you could have you would have said, okay, I'll take a shot here. And you take a shot.
Still, you know, from $1.53 to $1.75 or $1.90, well, $1.94, that's not a bad trade.
If you buy 100,000 shares and you flip it, and you make yourself 20, 25.
In 24 hours? Nothing wrong with that.
It's $1,000 an hour.
That's a day trade, though. See, that's just it. I'd have to stop working and do day trading instead. I don't have time for that.
No?
Just don't have time.
Okay, so we're just talking. We're putting up charts and we're talking about how to make some money.
You noticed. What's the big gold bellwether that you said? GLD, right?
GLD is that's...
Okay, this SBDR Gold Trust. Now, we're going to back out here 1 year because I have a funny feeling that gold has made a rather significant reversal.
I think it has too.
And if you look, it's trading outside of the Bollinger Bands here, Edward. So it means it's coming back in.
Well, it's one thing to be out slightly, but the more it's out of the band, the greater the statistical anomaly.
Yeah.
So it's back in now. It's back in now, right?
But look at this. Look at this volume spike here. What's going on?
Well, that was the day. That was the day that. What was that day? That was the day. That was the day gold was up dramatically because.
That was Friday. Oh no, that was Thursday, October 11th. 1 week ago today, exactly.
They said something. And commodity prices, that's when I think the markets got tuned up really, that's exactly the day.
Right.
When markets get tuned up, gold reacts the other way. Usually.
You said markets get tuned up.
Tuned down.
That's, okay, so let's talk about some of our gold plays here, like GLDN. Now, what the hell is going on here? They come out with another 20 meters of 11 grams per ton gold.
And you know what? Those are spectacular results.
Yeah, and so it's all sort of hanging together as a big deposit.
What I heard in talking to my friends in Vancouver, they said that the press release was written in a very somewhat dubious way, so that people that read the press release assume that the 3 holes they released were all in the same area, but they weren't. They were in one the discovery was in a new area, and the other 2 holes were in another new area, a kilometer apart. So you shouldn't say they were connected. The discovery remains intact.
Okay, so it's still a buy.
It's still a buy, but you know what? People get tired. They get.
All right. You know what? Let's get back to the cannabis space. In honor of Cannacord's U.S. Cannabis Opportunity Expose Conference that's on right now as we speak, we're going to have yet another guest. And here's a company you've probably been wanting to hear from and been wondering, why haven't they been on our show? We have a gentleman by the name of, I'm finding everybody's except his. Hilarious. Not here. Scott Carlotti. Scott, I just want to make sure I get his name right. Well, yeah, I can't read that.
Yeah.
So Mike Carlotti is the CFO of Australis, which is the Aurora spin-off, their U.S. play, and here's what Mike Carlotti, CFO of Australis, had to say. Hey, welcome back. My next guest is Mike Carlotti. He's the CFO of Australis Capital Inc, trading on the CSE under the symbol AUSA. Mike, welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Mike, let's start with an overview. What is Australis's business model?
Sure. So Australis Capital was formed by Aurora. We were a spinoff of Aurora back in September of this year. Prior to that spinoff, a private placement was raised, about $17 million Canadian. Some assets that Aurora had owned in the U.S. were dropped into Australis, and we started trading on the CSE on September 21st.
Right.
So our business model is pretty straightforward. We're more aligned with venture capital than owning and operating. So we will be looking to make investments in the value chain within cannabis, from grow-ups to dispensaries and everything in between, which would include technology, brands, IP, things that are scalable. We're looking to build a portfolio of assets over time such that we can utilize investments in different businesses to help other businesses that we've invested in over time to build a strong and diversified portfolio within the United States.
Very cool. So you're not looking to acquire owner-operators in their entirety and become the owner-operators. You prefer to be a passive investor?
In more cases than not, we will be a passive investor within the grow-up and distribution businesses. That being said, we will look to take control stakes in other businesses. So one transaction that we've signed an LOI with, Rhythm Technologies, which is an app that can be used for cannabis. If that deal closes, we would control 100% of that business. But in general, we'll be passive investors in the growth and dispensary businesses for the most part.
I see. Is your model likely going to be influenced at all by federal deprohibition in the United States?
Well, at some point, absolutely it will. And we believe it's a question of when and not if the federal legislation changes. There's a lot of activity already in Washington. I think the midterm elections will have a meaningful impact on the course of federal law changing within the U.S. In the meantime, we're really set up to take advantage of the dislocation that currently exists in the U.S. market. Currently, there are very highly fragmented industry, state to state, business to business. A lot of good businesses out there that have, raised capital to get going, but turns out they either, missed the mark on how much they would need. Maybe they underestimated how long it would take for them to get operational. Those create opportunities where we can come in as an investor at a reasonable valuation, give them the capital that they need, such that they can complete their business goals and continue to grow. So while the dislocation exists in the U.S. with banks not wanting to lend to U.S. cannabis companies, and it's difficult obviously for U.S. cannabis companies to trade on the U.S. indexes, that lack of access to capital is something that we can bring to these companies to help them grow their businesses. Okay,
so you've made a couple of investments so far. You've finalized a definitive agreement to purchase shares in Wagner Demas. Is that the transaction you were talking about earlier?
No, the one I was talking about earlier was Rhythm Technologies.
Rhythm, right,
Wagner Demas is a pre-roll company based out of California that we will own 22% of. So we've signed a definitive agreement. It will fund and close when we complete our private placement that we're working on right now. We'll own, like I said, about 22% of that business, and that's a business that we do believe is scalable. Their technology is very strong. Right now they're limited to California, but we hope to help them grow their business into other states and potentially internationally as well.
So is it, from an investor's perspective, is it best to think of Australis as a sort of an investment issuer that is going to sort of create a portfolio of assets by which they'll be valued on NAV, or is it more likely to think of it as a sort of incubator consolidator that goes out and finds these sustainable, growable segments and then takes minority interests until perhaps, I mean, I'm just comparing this to what Afri has done with Liberty Health and what some of the other LPs have done. Will it then become eligible for takeover by Aurora, the mothership, at some point and become owner-operated?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way to think about Australis is we are really a publicly traded venture capital firm. And so, we have pretty loose requirements as to what we can invest in. So anything U.S. related, it's not to say that we can't go out of the U.S. The U.S. is clearly our focus. Like I said, we'll probably more focus on taking minority investments in certain businesses and majority in others, but it's not to say that we can't take control stakes in a lot of the businesses that we invest in, either upfront or over time. With respect to Aurora, they do have the right to acquire up to 20% of our business at a reasonable valuation when federal law changes, and from there, who knows what happens next.
Right. 20% is not necessarily a control position then?
No, it's not.
Interesting. So then you started this business in partnership with Aurora, I guess more so than they, I mean, they sort of were the impetus to create it, but you made it such that you are autonomous to the mothership, so to speak. It's not so much a mothership as a partnership.
Yes, so we have no official affiliation with Aurora. They're not on our board. They don't have a direct say in what we do at Australis. That being said, it was a spin-off so their shareholders, for every 34 Aurora shares you owned, you received 1 share in Australis. So their shareholders are our shareholders. They were looking at lots of different investments in the United States. The Toronto Stock Exchange really doesn't want Canadian companies investing in U.S. businesses at this point in time, given the federal legislation. So Australis very creatively formed Aurora very creatively formed Australis to become a U.S. investment vehicle. And like I said, they do have the right to purchase up to 20% of our company when federal law changes. And I think when federal law does change, the big Canadian companies like Aurora clearly have a head start on the U.S. companies, given the lack of access to capital, such that I think you will see these big Canadian companies making significant investments in the U.S. When they are able to do so.
Mm-hmm. Yesterday in the Wall Street Journal, some cannabis investment group published a full-page ad imploring Donald Trump and his government to seize the opportunity economically for the United States through federal deprohibition that the ad expressed they felt was being lost to Canadians. And so to what extent do you think that's actually a good point, that because of federal deprohibition, the USA is missing out on the economic opportunity inherent in the cannabis revolution?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I do think, it's a question of when, not if. I do think, from what I've read, Donald Trump is supportive of medical cannabis being legal in the U.S. Of course, we already have 31 states that have voted in medical, and 9 states voted in recreational. If you look at the statistics, the population of the U.S., whether it's Democrat or Republican, millennial or baby boomers, the majority of those folks all believe that cannabis should be legalized in the U.S. There have been some naysayers within the government, some people that have really done a great job at slowing down the progress of that legislation happening. Mm-hmm. The midterm elections will be interesting because there'll be a couple more states that have various forms of cannabis legislation on their ballots, but there's some key people within the U.S. government that are also up for re-election that have been anti-cannabis, notably Jeff Sessions and Pete Sessions, probably the 2 folks that, at least from what I've read, have been people that have really kind of slowed the progress. So we'll see what happens on November 6th. I think over time, as more medical studies come out and the medical benefits of cannabis are proven beyond a doubt, it's a question of when, not if, just given all the benefits that cannabis can offer, whether it's post-traumatic stress disorder, people that have epilepsy, particularly children. There's a whole list of benefits, as you well know, from cannabis. And so we're a little bit behind in the U.S., but I think we'll catch up, and I think it'll create a tremendous opportunity for those of us who are involved in, what I would consider maybe we're in the 4th or 5th inning, whereas Canada's now, finished the ball game, it seems.
Mm-hmm. I was also interested to see that Australis holds an interest in Subterra, which was Brent Zettel's holdings, I understood, in Canamed. And I guess this is just how some of the non-core assets to Canamed shook out of the transaction?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so what is the upside in the Subterra interest that investors might get excited about?
For now, it's just a small royalty stream. There could be further upside down the road if they are able to produce product, but it's a small investment for us. We're looking at much larger investments throughout the U.S. We've been a public company for about 4 weeks now. We're raising a private placement that we launched on October 1st to bolster our balance sheet even further, and we'll be looking to make much larger investments in Subterra over time throughout key states. So, because we have kind of a blank sheet of paper, if you will, we can be very selective in which states we look at entering, what type of technologies we look at investing in and or acquiring, brands and so forth. And so we will be selective in our process, but we obviously want to be fast acting as well and make smart, prudent acquisitions on a timely basis.
So I guess it's safe to say that you're looking for kind of best in breed solutions that you can acquire a significant interest while it's still private, more so than public. You don't invest in public entities.
There are definitely going to be opportunities for us to invest in small public companies. I think you'll see more investments in private companies, but it'll be a mix.
Okay, well that's a great introductory conversation about the company. Understand it much better now, Mike. We'll just leave it there and come back to you in a quarter's time. And thanks for joining me today.
Great, well thank you very much for your time.
Hey, what did you think of that, Australis?
I know, amazing. Incredible.
I know, it's like trading at just
it's
over
got
$2.
anything to do with Australia.
No, it doesn't. It has everything to do with USA, though. It's by the symbol AUSA. Let's pull up a chart of that.
Okay, you know what? You know what? I traded that and I got out of it, and you know what?
What? Did you make any money?
No, I limited my loss.
You hedged your bet?
No, I got out when I thought, you know what? I'm happy to get. I was down like 10 grand, and I got back 8 of it, and I was happy to say, okay, you know what? When you're losing 10 and you're going to lose 2.
Right.
The problem is,
it's time to get
if you sell it to the public at 20 cents, why in the hell would you buy it in the market at 2?
Well, here's the funny thing about that, Ed. The public couldn't buy it at 20 cents. It was only for near and dear who got into that. That was the round.
Did you get any?
Through which, no, I didn't. And I bitched about it rather vociferously because I'm like, hey, who's this guy here with the TV show helping you guys do your thing? And where's my free, cheap, not free, cheap stock? Where's my cheap stock? That's what I wanted to know.
Bitva.
Got to have the shirt on to go there, Ed. Otherwise, it's too much of an inside
nobody
joke.
understands what we're talking about.
They won't appreciate it.
Okay.
Here's the 1-month chart on Australis. Now, let's take a look at that candle way over there.
Yeah.
That's the one
that's
that
a very
bearish, right?
That's the one that. Well, when you told me it came out at 16, it's trading at 4.
Yeah.
Or it was 3, and then it shut up to 4. I thought, well, this is a steal.
Yeah.
But then when they told me you could buy it at 20 cents.
Well, you couldn't.
Why not?
I couldn't. Nobody could, except the near and dear who got invited into the private placement. It was oversubscribed. It only raised $17 million. It was mostly for long-term supporters.
Let's say you were one of those 20-cent buyers.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you sell all you could here at 2 and change and get your 10 times your money and say thank you very much?
I'd have sold on that day if I could. But here's the thing, Edward.
Here's
that
the thing.
$17 million of 20-cent paper is restricted until 4 months plus 1 day.
So who's selling this? I know who.
Well, what do you mean, who's selling this? Insiders.
Yeah, but you have to own. Where did they get their paper?
Really, they just probably magic wand created it out of thin air.
Well, created out of thin air.
Thin hair.
So that's what happens. You have hair, then you have thin hair, and you got a bunch of paper, and you sell it.
And life is good.
Holy shit!
What happened to your hair?
Why didn't I think of that?
You got me there, Ed. You got me there. I'm waiting for my throw paper. Where's my throw paper?
Throw those papers around.
Anyways, we have another excellent little vignette from the likes of our 4 East media partners, and it is coming. It isn't ready yet, so we're going to keep talking.
We're going to keep talking. Yeah. Vignette.
Yeah.
I like that word vignette. It makes me think of vinegar. Vignette.
Vignette, like when they ask you what kind of dressing you want on your salad. Would you like Thousand Islands,
Vignette,
Italian, or vignette?
Oh, a little vignette,
I think
please.
that's vinaigrette. I don't think it's vignette.
No, it's vignette.
You think it's vignette?
Yeah.
I think it's vinaigrette.
I'll have a little vignette on my salad, please.
Anyways, let's take a look at how the market wrapped up today in the cannabis space.
Let's look at the Midas Letter indices.
That's a hell of an idea. You know, these things are a little wonky since the end of the last quarter. They should have been readjusted. They haven't been yet. We're promising we're going to get to that this weekend.
Is a vignette sort of like a vignette?
It's sort of like a bagnette, which is a donut in Quebec.
Okay, like a
bagnette. Or a bain is a donut. A bagnette is a little mini donut. You ever like those mini donuts that go through the deep fat fire on the little conveyor belt and dust them in sugar?
You know, when I have spare time, I go down to the local Tim Hortons shop and just hang around.
Tim Hortons doesn't make those little suckers. They make donut holes. What do they call them? Timbits.
You know what they do with the hole of the donut? That part that's not there? They make little
I don't want to know what you
Timbits.
do with the
Timbits.
whole of the donut, Ed. Thank you anyways. Timbits, yes, great.
Timbits.
All right, so look, we concluded the day in the most irresolute fashion.
Yeah.
Down 0.87%, up 0.26%, down 1.93%, down 0.62%. It was basically sideways all day.
If we get sideways action for another few days,
Yes.
I'm going to suggest to the viewers that that's not what you want to see.
That's not what you want to see.
No.
Sounds to me like you're saying sell.
I'm not saying sell.
Are you saying buy?
I'm not saying buy.
What are you saying,
I'm
Edward?
saying nothing.
Well, like all great technical analysts are fully maximum skill set. I mean, what is technical analysis again, Ed? The most reliable way in the world to predict the past, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
what good is it for actual future stock picking?
No good.
None whatsoever.
No good.
None whatsoever, Edward. So what are you going to say about that? Hey, would you mind keeping it down over there?
you know what we're trying to do? We're trying to do a show in here.
Oh,
Hey.
boy, the rudeness, I tell you. Is that the throw? Is it ready to go? Throw it over here, Edward. It's called the throw. Hey!
That's what I've been relegated to. I'm the guy that passes the baton.
You pass the baton? This is paper, Edward. This is not a baton.
Well,
10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, Edder, what do you think of the idea about pardon?
What's Edder?
For 30 seconds.
Okay, now what?
What do you
Let's stretch this
think
out.
of
Let's stretch this out.
the idea of pardons for cannabis convictions? Have you ever thought about that? You ever get busted for possession of cannabis? Well, I did. It was no fun. Did I get a pardon? Yes. Did it help me? No. Is it worth the paper it's written on? Not a chance. But now the feds are saying that they promised it will soon be quicker and cheaper to obtain a criminal pardon for previous convictions of simple pot possession, which they're considering less than 30 grams. Critics are calling it lame. Lame! And some pot advocates are still screwed. I don't hear it playing. Ba, 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 bum, ba,
So,
ba,
you know what time it is, James?
What's that?
No,
10 more
I asked you a
seconds.
question, and I didn't expect another question in return. I wanted an answer.
What kind of answer did you want, Edward?
I wanted the truth.
You wanted the truth. That's,
wanted-
that's
I wanted-
not something.
I
You
wanted-
know what building you're in, right?
Pravda. Now what? Now
So
what?
let's see, of all the companies we talked to today, Ed, which was your favorite? We talked to Steve Gormley at JUJU, we talked to International Cannabis, we had Australis, and we had Body and Mind. Which one did you like the best? Take your pick. Which one? Which one? Which one?
Well,
Yeah? Huh?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Somebody to pick from. This is called,
Did you watch the Body and Mind segment?
This is called.
Spit it out, Edward.
Yeah, I'll have to think about this.
I'm getting a cattle prod, you know, and you're going to get hung up on those words, and it's going to be like, then you'll be snapped right out of it. Anyways, so,
What do you think?
tomorrow is the last day of the week,
Yeah.
and this ends the first week in which cannabis was legal in Canada.
Right.
And did you buy any cannabis from the Ontario Cannabis Store online, Edward?
Nope.
I bought $160 worth of cannabis, and it's coming theoretically on Saturday. Can you believe that? We're going to get the government, the same government who busted my sorry ass 20 years ago, no, 30 years ago as a kid, now is sending me cannabis. What is this? Like, what kind of times are we living in? I don't get it. Are you thrilled?
You know what we're living in? We're living in fast times at Ridgemount High.
Oh, maybe you are.
Think about that.
Anyways,
Fast high. Fast high.
what's going on over there? We got like 1 minute on our show, and everybody's going to leave in a second, so I was going to wrap up the show. No? Okay. Anyways, so...
Let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. Next week, we're going to have a whole bunch of new guests. I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be coming to you live from California, IA. I'm going to be down there talking to Justin B. Marshall. We're going to be shooting our movie. We're going to be shooting our mouths off. We're going to be visiting a few more opportunities. And just for you, special viewer, we're going to close out the show with this 2-minute vignette on the idea of pardon for cannabis convictions that I was referring to earlier. So here it is. Boom, and we finished with a vignette. That's fantastic.